Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Throwback 2010 franchise mode with the Edmonton Oilers. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we had the draft and re-sign stage, and we continued to add some more good prospects to our prospect pool, which is quite exciting, of course, because obviously if we start to lose players, it's good to have those replacements. So we did end up drafting a couple decent players, I would say. We drafted, I think, Hardakainen was definitely one of the selections. He was a late first-round pick. Decent player, I think, and he should end up helping us down the road. We also did draft a couple other players which are down here, like Romano, for instance, who I'm excited about. Obviously, he's got low league potential, 63 at 18, so this guy should hopefully develop into being something for us. And then, yeah, we also drafted some other people as well, but definitely good to get that prospect pool a little bit stronger, just in case, like I said, we end up losing players or having to, like, trade out some people on our team. So yeah, very excited for the future of this team, and I think we're only going to go up from here on out. So one thing that we are actually going to do before I forget about it is I didn't sign Mod to his ELC yet in last episode. I think he deserves an ELC, so we are going to sign him up so he could play in Springfield next season. So let's just get that done with just before I forget to get to the rest of this. But we are going to not need too much in terms of free agent signings this offseason. We almost have pretty much a full-on roster. There's a lot of guys kind of competing for like bottom six spots. So we might have to think about flipping out some potential players. But I'll probably wait till the start of the season before we do that. As for the defensive core, it's pretty much already set in stone on who's on our defensive core, and likely we will be using somebody like Parayko as a depth defenseman just because he hasn't really generated a lot of growth. If he's listed as a top six before the season starts, though, maybe I'll look to trade him and find ourselves an actual depth defenseman because he's one of the older defensemen on this team and he hasn't really developed into being that top four guy yet. So we'll see what we do with Parayko. And then our goaltending is already pretty much set in stone, so we don't really need actually a whole lot this offseason. I do think we needed a cap whale, if I remember right, so that's definitely something we're going to look into, is just finding somebody that's making a little bit of money, or we could give a little bit money to, just to get us over that floor, because you can see right now we're at 56 out of 76 million, so we need like probably another $3 or $4 million contract, and we should be good. So that's likely the only thing we'll bring in this episode. And then, like I said, we might have too many cooks in the kitchen on that bottom six, so we might have to make some adjustments down there. But anyways, before we get into that free agency portion and starting up the 2017-18 season, let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we will see what we end up doing. So the first and only comment is from Saturn Taco, says, don't forget you could add off-season focuses to your prospects, so the centers you drafted who don't have great face-off stats should be able to get that skill up when you decide to sign them. And yeah, that's definitely something we could do, is work on those off-season goals. Maybe we'll do that, some of those right now in this episode. Obviously, the guy that we just drafted in Romano, who we were just mentioning about recently, if we go to unsigned at the moment, he doesn't have great face-off stats, but obviously we can't do any off-season focuses on an unsigned prospect. But he's definitely a guy that we should probably look to get better in terms of face-offs if we want to use him as a center. That is, if we utilize him more as a left winger, it's not a huge issue, but definitely once we get this guy into like the AHL within a year or something, if his face-offs are still like a 68 or something like that, we could definitely try and get his face-off stats better. So that way maybe we use him as a center / left winger, and he could play in either of those positions and kind of utilize him a little bit better. So anyways, with that said, I think we are ready to just find ourselves a cap whale. I'm honestly not too sure of what cap whale we need, because we don't really need goaltending. Our defensive core already has depth defenders, so we don't really need to sign a depth defenseman. Forward-wise, we have a lot of guys competing for that bottom six. So since we have a lot of guys competing for that bottom six, probably wouldn't be a good idea to necessarily bring in another guy that fits that bottom six, so to speak. But we'll probably find somebody, maybe a 77 overall, that could probably play in the AHL if we need to. And we'll give them like 4 or 5 million, maybe 3 million even. And that should help us make us a little bit more cap compliant. So that's likely what we'll sign. Sorry if I keep on having to cut my voice in a sense, because I literally just sneezed a couple of seconds ago, and holy crap, man, that was just a brutal sneeze to start this morning. But let's go to the free agency crop and see if there's anybody that could just kind of fit like a depth forward role at best. Like, we don't really need anything. Like, I don't really want to bring in anything, but we need to make ourselves cap compliant. So I'd probably prefer to bring in a center, just because that way they could maybe win faceoffs if they do get put in the lineup. We could always look to somebody like maybe Nick Spaulding Spalling is a center slash left winger. Does have very good face-off stats. Yeah, Nick Spalling's probably the type of guy I would want. So he's 28 years old. Let's bring him in, give him a one-way deal, and we'll give him like 3.5. And I think that should maybe make us cap compliant. And he'll likely be playing in the AHL next season, but maybe there's a chance he could get called up for some NHL playoff games if we actually need help. So let's just do that for Nick Spalling. Enjoying those $3.5 million. And now we should be maybe cap compliant. Let's take a look at this. Hopefully we are. The answer to that is no, we are not. God damn it, maybe I should have gave him more money. It's actually kind of crazy that we still need cap whales at this stage because our team is pretty damn solid. So let's get one winger as well while we're at it, I guess. Even though I don't really care too much. I guess technically Yakupov getting re-signed would make us more cap compliant too. So maybe we don't really need another one. Yeah, we probably actually don't need another one because Yakupov is going to get like 1.6 million around. Like, I honestly might give Yakupov what he was asking for in last episode because he's the only RFA holding out. And if we get him back for that 1.6, which I actually apparently can't offer him. Oh, I did offer him in the last episode. I think at the end of it, I offered him what he was asking for. So I think he does have a pending offer, so he should accept here in the next few days. So we should be okay with the cap space once we get Yakupov in. Aside from that, I don't think we really need to do too much else. I think there was also bringing in some AHL coaches. So let's go to coaching staff here. Yeah, we need an assistant and associate in the AHL. So let's see if we could find some of those. So we'll go to AHL head coach to see if there's anybody that fits our AHL team well right now. 53, 54 is the best. 64, that's pretty nice, even though he's physical. Let's bring him in as an associate coach. Sure. And I will also find somebody with a good teaching grade if there is one as well. Which, this guy might be decent. Let's see, what's your percentage? He's also named Horkov, so... Or we go with Ham Hughes. Ham Hughes actually looks pretty damn solid. So let's bring in Ham Hughes as the assistant. He has interest from some other teams, so there's a chance he might not accept this because he wants to be a head coach. But we'll try and bring him in and get our coaching staff nice and good for the AHL team. Alright, so that's all dealt with. Which means I think now the only things we need to do before we start advancing a couple days and stuff like that is doing a little bit of off-season focus. Like I said, I know a lot of you guys don't really care too much about this thing, but we will work on it a little bit. I think guys like McKinnon and Cameron have already grown a lot in areas. I don't think they really need to grow much more in certain areas. But young guys maybe like Brock Nelson, who's just joined this team. Fada could maybe utilize some growth in some areas. So let's see if we could get these guys to maybe improve in some areas. So let's try and get Brock Nelson to maybe get better at... Let's just go offensive awareness. I don't even know what his weakness really is, but we'll just try and get some guys to improve offensively so we can maybe get some good results. Fada... I guess we could try and get him to become a better goal scorer. I know he's been a good goal scorer so far, but if we could get his shooting categories up there, maybe he could even become a better shooter. Apparently shooting's where he could use the most improvement, but he just about had a 30-goal season this past year, so I think that's not a bad option for him. Aside from that, we do have a young defensive core, but they are developing kind of decently. But I feel like the defensive core needs probably the most growth because that's been our main problem recently is the youngness of our defensive core. So let's try and get these guys to continue to get better defensively. So that way maybe we could become a better defensive team. We already have the offense technically from guys like Cameron. We technically do need more scoring as well offensively though from our offensive core. So maybe I could do these type of things for every single player, but I don't really feel like it's necessary. Let's try and get Zhurdev to get better offensively in terms of his awareness because he is an OFD. It says that it comes natural to him already, but we might as well try and pump that up there a bit. Aside from that, Moss is already a good goal-scoring defenseman. See, I don't really know what I would focus on a lot of these dudes. Maybe let's get Mackey better offensively because he is an OFD as well. We should probably try and get him to improve there. Because if he could improve there, it would help out a lot. So let's get that awareness up there. I think eventually at some point we should try and get his passing better too. And his shooting too. And then maybe he can become a really good offensive defenseman. Aside from that, I don't think there's really too much else I want to focus on. Maybe get Holden better at shooting the puck, or his offensive awareness was low, I think. So maybe we'll try and get him better in terms of his offensive awareness, just because I think it was low. And he is a sniper, so he should be having good offensive awareness. So let's try and get that to improve a little bit too. And I think that's all we'll do for off-season focuses. But obviously, once we start getting more young guys in, we probably could focus on them a little bit more. So I think that is good. We don't need to make any trades. We've done our signings. Yeah, I think we're pretty good. So let's advance a few days and see if Yakupov accepts and if those AHL coaches accept. If they do, we will get to through the free agency portion and see what teams are signing and trading for. Now, we are getting trade offers for Brock McGinn, but like I said, right now, I'm not too sure on who I want to move in that bottom six. I think the start of the season we'll find out who we move out. But anyways, Hillen's on board as the associate coach in the AHL. We do have another trade offer, which is 2 Phoenix, a second and a third for Dadonov and Kindle. We don't need Dadonov back, but thank you, Phoenix. I appreciate the offer. Hamuse is on board. That's kind of surprising as the AHL assistant coach. It's probably because we overpaid on him, but that's good. And Yakupov has also accepted the offer we gave him in last episode. So are we cap compliant now that Yakupov has signed? The answer is I think just barely. It's really tough to tell. Like, I'd have to zoom way in to find out, but I think we are cap compliant. I can't tell what the cap floor is. I don't remember where the cap floor is. I can't go to roster moves yet to see if we're at the floor. If I go to the contract situation, well, let's say the floor here. I don't think so, right? Salary cap, 76 million, 59 million spent. Yeah, I don't know what the floor is. Yeah, I think we're fine. I think we're fine. If we need more money, it's not a huge issue. But let's get through this free agency portion, see what the AI teams sign up. Hopefully there's some interesting movement around the league, just because I always liked the off-season portions of this franchise mode the best, just to kind of see how much chaos goes on around the league. And this is kind of an interesting trade-off for 2 third-round picks for Kevin Shattenkirk and a 6. Like I said, we don't need defensemen. But if I was looking to get a veteran defenseman, Shattenkirk's not a bad guy. I don't think he simulates the best, so. Yeah, 28 points this year. He's pretty solid, but yeah, he's not really what I'm needing at this point. Because, yeah, I kind of trust our young defensive core over taking in Shattenkirk, so we're not going to accept that. But it's an interesting deal. 3rd, a 5th, and McGinn for a 3rd and a 4th. I'm going to decline that as well. I actually might just decline and edit our trading block. I do not mind these offers, but I just want to wait till the actual season before we decide on who to flip away in that bottom 6. Because, like I said, there's probably going to be too many players in that bottom 6. So we will have to think about probably parting ways with at least one player, maybe multiple. So let's just get this stuff off the block so we don't have to deal with any offers and stuff like that for now. And then, like I said, we could think about maybe making some trades in this episode before we actually start up the 17-18 season. Now, I would like to look at every team's lines around the league again this season. So maybe we don't simulate a lot. I know Michael didn't want me to really look through lines and stuff like that, but I do also really like looking through them just to kind of see what teams are looking like. But I think maybe for this upcoming season, maybe we won't, just because we're already going to be taking a look at all the free agent signings and stuff like that. So yeah, maybe we won't take a look at the lines in this episode. We will actually maybe start simulating in this episode. So anyways, let's take a look at what signings went on around the league in 2017. So see if there was any crazy adjustments that teams made, any crazy trades. We'll start off with the trades for fun, just because trades happen a lot during the offseason too. So Dadonov did end up getting moved with Nick Cronwall. So 2 big-name free agent signings that the Oats picked up over the last few years. They get both dealt to Nashville for 2 second-round picks. So Nashville loading up a little bit. So those are going to be playing, I guess, technically with like Barkov, Sagan, Taylor Hall. So some nice veteran pieces. Chicago acquires a 3rd and Mike Comrie from Colorado. Colorado gets back a 3rd and a 6th. So just basically a 6th-round pick for Mike Comrie and then a pick swap. Anaheim gets a 3rd and a 3rd. Boston gets back a 3rd and some goaltender prospect named Bush. Montreal gets Peter Mueller, a 3rd and a 5th from Detroit. Detroit gets back a guy named Johnston, a guy named Escalainen in a 3rd. Montreal gets Matthew Perreault and Chuck Kobasu from Detroit. Detroit gets back a third and a fourth. So Matthew Perreault going to Montreal Canadiens a little bit earlier than he was in real life, because I think that's where he ended his career, if I remember right. In terms of signings, any crazy signings, I'm not going to list them all out, but if you guys see anything crazy you want to mention, please do, because it's always fun to see what I missed out on. But any crazy players sign with crazy teams. This free agent crop wasn't the craziest, so I don't expect huge names, but I just kind of want to see who goes where, see if people sign with teams they actually played for. Rick DiPietro went to Chicago after his long contract with the Islanders. Aside from that, Justin Hull went to Chicago. That's the team that actually drafted him, if I'm not mistaken, so kind of neat. Kyle Palmieri's back in New Jersey. Or no, he wasn't even in New Jersey to start the series. He would have been in Anaheim, right? So he finds himself as a New Jersey Devil. That's kind of cool. Cam Larry in Chicago. A lot of generated prospects still too, signing places. Dan Carcillo going to Chicago. I don't think he started in Chicago in this series. I think he started in Philly, so he actually goes to Chicago like he did in real life, but I think it might have been, yeah, it's like 4 years late or something like that. Aside from that, any other crazy signings? McElhinney in Montreal is not huge. Erat's in Boston now. Looking for crazy names. Tootin in New Jersey. All right. Paul Ranger to Buffalo is not really a big name, but still. Eric Jelena is now in New Jersey. I don't know if he was already in New Jersey, but New Jersey was a team he played for. Trevor Lewis is back with the LA Kings again, like he was at the beginning of this franchise mode. Aside from that, any other players that I want to mention? There's still a lot of signings. Sekera went to Boston. He was one of the big name left defensemen, I believe, in free agency. The Monster goes to Columbus. Johnny Oduya going to Chicago. I don't think he was in Chicago to start this as well, so that's kind of interesting. Eric Stahl signed a 3-year deal with the Detroit Red Wings, so he did get a little bit more solidity this time. He played 1 year in Minnesota. Now he's going to be with Detroit for the next 3 years. Obviously, his brother Mark played with Detroit as well at one point. Rafi Torres going back to the Islanders. He was actually drafted by the Islanders as like a top 5 selection, so that's kind of funny. Chris Kunitz in Detroit. Anybody else? A lot of generative players still. Looking for the crazy names. Justin Williams, who was a very good player with the Pittsburgh Penguins in the series, signs with the Montreal Canadiens. Tenorti to the Islanders. Not really that big, of course. Franz in Ottawa. Jake Allen's with the Sabres now. Josh George is to Nashville. Zucker goes to Buffalo early. That's actually pretty cool. I'd like to see that, because obviously in real life he's with Buffalo right now, I'm pretty sure. Derek Brassard to Vancouver. That's actually one place Derek Brassard never played, even though he did play for a shit ton of teams. Jordan Eberle went to Vancouver as well. Damn. So we traded him to Boston. He went to free agency. Now he's a member of the Vancouver Canucks, which means we will have to see him a decent amount of times this season. Aside from that, Hodgson, who used to play with us, is in Chicago. Varlamov's in San Jose now. Nisimov in Nashville. Peter Mueller signed with Detroit before I think he got dealt already. Ryan Murray in San Jose. Skinner got a 6-year deal with the Phoenix Coyotes. Interesting. Scott Darling to Colorado. Luke Shen still back in Toronto. Malone in Columbus. Patrick Marleau went to Pittsburgh. That's realistic as shit, because didn't he spend a brief time in Pittsburgh? I can't remember what year that was. Maybe like 2020 or something like that. Let me look up Patrick Marleau here for a second. I can't remember what season it was in real life. Yeah, it was 2020 that he was a Pittsburgh Penguin for like 12 games based on playoffs and all that. So kind of funny, a little bit early, but still kind of funny that he would actually go to the Penguins and try and go and win a Stanley Cup. Maroon going to Vancouver. Ham Hughes to Columbus. Franz in a 5-year deal in Minnesota. Datsuk went to Dallas. That's an interesting one. Markov stays with Montreal. I think he was with a different team at one point, though, in this. Mike Smith going to the Coyotes. I don't know if he started on the Coyotes in this. I don't think so. I think he started in Tampa, if I remember right. But a lot of players moving places. Tyson Barrie's in Carolina now. Matt Carl's in Detroit. Ekholm's a 5-year deal in Boston. Damn. All right. And any other big names? Leddy in Colorado. There's Nail Yakupov for us. Pekka Rinne signed with the Rangers. That's interesting because Lundqvist left a few years ago. Justin Schultz gets a 5-year deal in Calgary. And Vander Kane signed with Detroit on a 2-year deal. Halak goes to Nashville, 3 years. Tyler Kennedy to Tampa. Josh Bailey to Florida. Jake Gardner to Calgary. A 6-year deal with the Pittsburgh Penguins for Derek Stepan. And Kyle Turris did get a 7-year deal with the Ottawa Senators. So Kyle Turris signing with the Sens in this universe is chef kiss. He was a great Sen player, especially around this time point. But obviously afterwards, when he went to like Edmonton and Nashville and stuff, he just dropped off a lot. But that's kind of interesting to see him actually go to the Sens in this universe. So I will definitely take it. And then Hellbuck got a 1-year deal with the Leafs. So interesting. All right, so those are the big name signings this offseason. Let's continue to advance to next season so we can get our lineup set up. Because I'm kind of curious on what this team is going to be looking like. I think we're going to look pretty good, but like I said, there's going to be a lot of internal competition on the bottom 6, which means probably a lot of tough decisions on who to move out and who to keep. So I guess the deciding factor might end up being like age and stuff like that, because we probably prefer the younger options maybe. It's tough to say at this point. All right, so first and foremost, captains should be fine in the way they are because we still have everybody that was on that captaincy group last season. So let's get this set up here, and we will go to roster moves here. I didn't want to go to those things. I want to go to roster moves and see who is actually somebody we need to call up and who we should send down. So goaltenders, we have Ruskovich and Vasilevsky. That's easy. We're not going to be calling anybody else up. McClement's getting close, though, so I'd say McClement's probably a year away from at least taking Ruskovich's job as the backup. But right now, good combo in the AHL and NHL. Defensively, we have Falk, Moss, Hilinka, Zherdev, Mackey, and Metro. Parayko, Rodriguez are both fighting for roster spots. Ceci and Dolan are still listed as minor top 2. Safronov's still a depth defenseman. We do need a depth defenseman up here. Parayko and Rodriguez would both complain about ice time, but we should be having one of these guys probably in our lineup. Because we do have all 4 left-handed defensemen. It would be nice to have 3 righties, 3 lefties. But I think for right now, I'm going to call up Safronov because he's listed as a depth defenseman. He won't get claimed through waivers likely anyways. But we might have to think about not simulating too much in this episode and then debating about trading away a left-hander to get one of these right-handers in. Because Rodriguez has low lead potential. He's a DFD. He would be perfect for that top 6 pairing. And then Colton Parayko is a DFD as well, technically. I would kind of consider more of a two-way now that I've made him. But yeah, Parayko doesn't have the best shot accuracy, but he's got really good shot power. Was a first-round pick of ours. We could probably still think about moving out from Parayko if we want to, because I don't know if he's going to really grow much more. But Rodriguez playing on that top 6 pairing next to, like, I don't know, Metropolit. Metropolit's also a DFD. Would be a nice shutdown combo. So that would leave the guys like these 3. One of these guys could be expendable potentially. Now, they're all different types, so Moss is a two-way, Alinka's DFD, and Zherdev's an OFD. And then Metro's a DFD if we wanted to part ways with him. We probably should part with a left-hander if we want Rodriguez up here. So I need your guys' opinion on that because I'm not too sure who I would prioritize holding on to. Because Falk's a two-way on his own. Moss is a two-way. DFD, OFD, OFD, DFD. And then Safronov doesn't matter too much. So right now, I think we have 2 DFDs. We have 1 OFD. No, 2 OFDs and 2 two-way defensemen. So we're pretty balanced right now. So we could keep it the way it is and then trade both these guys if we wanted to, but it would be nice to get a right-hander in just because we have so many lefties. So if we parted with one of these lefties, we'd have to call up one of these guys to be in the lineup, I think. Ceci at this point is probably not going to pan out really, which is okay. He could maybe become a depth defenseman at best. Same goes with like Dolan, maybe a depth defenseman. Tremblay is getting very close and he's only 21, so yeah, we have definitely a little bit of a logjam on defense. So we'll probably have to part ways with somebody if we really want to. Aside from that, forward-wise, we have Fada up to an 86. Damn. He got a lot of growth. And he still has only 2 years left. So I don't know if that's statistical or what, but that's really good to see. Toffoli's down to an 85. Yakupov's 82. Nikushkin's an 80. Shaw's still kind of a minor checking forward. He could be a depth forward if we really wanted, but right now I think it's fine to keep him in the minors. Legwand as well. From a left wing perspective, we have Nyquist, Lahti, Holden, McGinn, and Berchi. Obergauer's close. Bemstrom's close. Alto probably needs another year, which is not too bad, and Lamoureux is also down there. Yeah, okay, this is not looking that bad. Maybe we don't need to make as much changes as I thought. And in centers, we have McKinnon, Cameron, Nelson, Marcoux, Jenner. And then Lowry's pretty close, but not ready yet. Spalling's listed as a depth forward. Same with Schultz. These guys could probably stay in the minors. So if we look at right now our forwards, who would technically be scratched? We could scratch Barchi because he's a depth forward. And we could... Holden's a decent player. I don't really want to scratch him because he's only 22. I'd have to probably scratch one of these guys listed as a fourth line forward. Which, if I do that, they might complain. So maybe Andrew Shaw should get called up because of that. And then one of these fourth line guys gets dealt. For right now, I think I'm okay with using him as depth, but we might have to think about maybe moving out of forward. But I think defensively, there is a bigger question, obviously. Who would move out to basically call up either Parayko or Rodriguez. So I think we're good right now. We don't really need to make much adjustments, but we might have to think about it a couple games into the season or in next episode. So anyways, with that said, let's get the line set up. So first line, Cameron, McKinnon, and we will go with Fada, I think, maybe. We could go with Toffoli on that line. I don't really mind having Toffoli up there. But maybe Fada deserves that opportunity because he was really good last season. And he still has a lot to prove. 26 goals last year. And his shooting categories are improving. His offensive awareness is. Let's keep him on the top line maybe to start the season. Just see how that is. And then Toffoli could play with Nelson and Nyquist. 2 playmakers and a sniper. Third line, Lahti, Marcoux, Yakupov looks nice. Nikushkin with Jenner and Dale Holden. I don't mind that. I do not mind that. Holden's actually good defensively down there too, so. Not really good defensively is Nikushkin, so. Who's scratched at the moment? Brock McGinn. Brock McGinn's definitely, not really that much better defensively. Berchi's okay to be a scratch. He's not great defensively either. Yeah, that's like probably what I would go with for our top 6 and bottom 6 as well. Defensively, this is interesting. Let's see. So, probably go with Hlinka in Falk, because Hlinka's higher end in Metro. We probably go Moss and Zherdev, Mackey in Metro. Mackey gets probably some power play time, though. And then from a goalie perspective, we already have that set up. Let's go to special teams just to see how this is looking. McKinnon, Cameron, Nyquist. Let's go with Cameron down the middle. Foley, Nelson. I'm going to take Nelson off the first unit, and we are going to throw Justin Falk on this unit. We're going to move Nelson to the second unit and take... We're going to take Zherdev off, I think, here. And give Nelson this power play. So Nelson can go to point. Nelson's actually a sniper, not a playmaker, but it doesn't really matter. Mackey's going to get a power play chance. And that should be fine. I don't know about having Marcoux on the power play because he's a two-way forward, but we will definitely just still try it out a bit. Penalty kill, Marcoux, Lahti, Metropolit, Folk. Yeah, these look fine, I think. Yeah. I like the way our lineup looks. I like the way it looks. Like I said, the only thing that I might complain about ice time is Brock McGinn. So it's not a huge issue there. But there's also, like I said, the defensive adjustment that we might have to think about. Colton Parayko gets put on the top 6 pairing because that's the best for chemistry, apparently. Marcoux's got low lead potential. Lalibird had low lead. Oh, man, we have way too many defensemen. Yeah, we definitely have to maybe make a defensive call, I would think. CC getting scratched, I guess, could be okay, but I need Tremblay to be playing. Tremblay's a top prospect. I probably have to scratch guys like Marcoux, even though this is their first season. Get Ma in there. So we'll get Ma. Let's see, where does Ma fit the best? Maybe something like this could work. Who else is scratched? Santiago Esposito. I don't really want to scratch the Enforcer, but there's not really a way I could throw him in the lineup. CC's okay to be scratched, and Marcoux is not great to be scratched, but If we call up Rodriguez or Parayko, that will open up some roster spots on defense a bit. And then aside from that, we don't have any depth forwards, so maybe some of these guys will end up playing forward for us if there's an injury. Technically, Lamoureux is... I don't know, he's not a defenseman. I thought he was a defenseman for some reason, but... Alright, this looks okay. Interesting AHL team. Very strong defensively, but like I said, if we make trades, we could obviously get guys like Parayko or Rodriguez up to the NHL, and then we could obviously free up some more roster space down there on the defensive side of things. But for right now, I think that is good and set up. I think we're ready to get into simulating a little bit. We probably won't simulate too much just because of the potential morale crisis stuff, but and also because we have some trade options to do. I think we're probably going to simulate to maybe December the 1st, and then we'll see if it's worth calling up maybe Parayko or Rodriguez for next episode, which means maybe making a trade. But let's see what our coach says about our roster. Does he think we're good enough to make it back to the postseason again this year? First and foremost, though, preseason focus. Let's keep on growing. Which area was it? Video sessions. Damn, I don't even know if I've seen these video sessions in team bonding before. Huh. Alright. Let's just go 5v5 focused again, just to try and get that a little bit better. And season goal, does he think we're a playoff team? The answer is, looking at our roster, there's some kinks to work out, but this team is good enough to compete for a playoff spot. That is my goal for this team. So there is still some kinks to work out, apparently, but he does think we're a playoff team. So I think the kinks to work out is maybe making our defense stronger, but I don't really know if we want to trade defensemen for a veteran guy or what. Depends if there's really any on the block or anything, but let's go through our 4 preseason games. And then, like I said, we'll probably go to December the 1st, so not a ton of the season, just enough to kind of understand how our team is doing at that point. All right, so 3-1 in the preseason, pretty solid. Let's see if there's any interesting stats from the preseason. If like anybody over-simulated, looks like some people did. Nyquist had 6 points in 4 games. Is he a pending free agent this offseason? He is. Ah, that makes sense. So he might have a killer good year because of that. So, yeah, that's also another reason not to simulate a ton, because that way I could get your guys' opinion if we should sign guys like Gustav Nyquist for a long-term deal. Brock Nelson obviously got recently re-signed. Tyler Toffoli might be close to a free agent too. 2 more years, okay. Well, 1 more year after this year. So, looks like some people definitely under-simulated like McKinnon and Cameron, but that's okay. They'll definitely be better in the regular season. Both goalies played really good, so hopefully that is something that they do during the actual season as well. All right. So, let's simulate to the regular season. I do also want to take a quick look at, first and foremost, how much Nyquist is going to be wanting to get paid, so you guys could already maybe have an idea in your mind if we should sign him long-term, or if we should maybe just let him go at the end of the season. But let's go to contracts and just kind of see what he's asking for at this point in time. Is he asking for too much? Let's see. The answer to that is maybe not a ton. He doesn't really have a lot of organizational interest right now, so I guess it depends how good our team does this year. But we are likely paying him over 5.3 if we want to bring him back for 4 years. So it's not a terrible contract, but we do have other RFAs to deal with, like Latty, Jenner, and stuff like that. Some of these guys like Holden probably would be better with more ice time, so Nyquist maybe is an option to move out. But at the same time, it would make us a bit weaker, so obviously we'll find out if we do anything like that in a few episodes from now. But Ruskovich is also a pending UFA, but like I said, I think likely it's not going to be a huge issue if we lose him, because McClement likely will take that backup spot, hopefully next season. That's my hope, at least. So let's anyways get through some of the season, like I said, up to December the 1st, just kind of see what this team's doing, if there's any promises that like our offense is doing great, if we're playing bad defensively, something's going wrong. Let's just see what happens. So let's go to the 27th, which is pretty much the end of our games in October, and see how we do in this first month of action. Matt Gilroy on waivers, I'm going to decline that just because I already have too many defensemen at the moment. He wouldn't get playing time anyways. We do lose our first 2 games of the season, which is kind of weird, but then we beat Calgary 6-3 and Vancouver 4-2, so the first 2 games not so good, but now we are on not a winning streak, as Corbin Rodriguez has been injured with an injured stomach, so that kind of sucks because he's one of those guys that could come up to the NHL this season. He's only out for like a week, but still kind of sucks. Damn, man, we lost 10-3 to the Washington Capitals. They must be a very, very good team to score 10 goals against us, because we are usually a pretty strong defensive team, but to allow 10 goals in a game, I don't know if we've ever allowed 10 goals in a game in a series, even when we were a really bad team. So that's interesting. But yeah, Rodriguez and Parayko, both of them are competing for the same roster spot, so I feel like maybe trading one of them and a defenseman on our current team away to get Rodriguez in might be the play, but also maybe it's not the play. A little bit of an inconsistent first month of action, it seems like, for our team, but that's okay. And Rodriguez has been injured again. He's out for another week, so this guy's a little bit injury prone, which is unfortunate. He will be out with an injured hand. That's interesting. It's only a week, but 5-5-2 to start off the season is not really what I was hoping for from this team, but it is kind of better than it was last year, I guess, because was last year the year that we had a really bad start and then somehow found a way into the playoffs? I think so, right? So, who knows, maybe we'll have still another good month all of a sudden out of nowhere, but not the strongest of starts. We are currently third place in the Northwest Division, and of course we do have games in hands on teams like the Flames, so we technically are around second place in our division at the moment. But let's go through another month, then we'll take a look at some stats and see if there's any underlying issues that maybe need to be addressed already. Rodriguez is already back, that's good. Hopefully he could stay healthy, because I do not like when the AHL team gets slapped with injuries consistently, or the NHL team for that matter. So we'll get Rodriguez in. I should maybe adjust the AHL lines a little bit here. I didn't even think about doing this for some reason in terms of forwards, but let's get this maybe a little bit readjusted here with our top prospects a little higher in the lineup. That's good. Perfect. All right, let's keep on going. Let me stop the sim here. Oh, actually, never mind. I guess it wasn't on a different month. I thought it was on a different month for some reason. Okay, still inconsistent, as this team typically is. Vancouver, 7-4 victory, 6-2 win over Dallas. Okay, now we're starting to find our legs offensively, it looks like, which is good to see. But obviously the defensive play has been a bit iffy in some of these games, but we are still playing much better now. 2 fifth-round picks for Robin Lehner sounds like a pretty nice deal, but we don't really need goaltenders. If I needed a goaltender at this stage, maybe I would do it. But Vasi's our starter, and I do like Ruskovich as the backup, so I don't think it really makes sense for us to bring in Lehner, even though 2 fifth-round picks is barely any value to give up for a guy that's probably like an 82 or an 83 overall. And of course, as I was saying, we don't need a guy like Lehner. Now we kind of do, because Vasilevsky has been injured with an injured shoulder. It is only for like a week or so, but he will be done for this episode, as we won't simulate more. Means we're going to have to rely on Ruskovich, and I guess McClement will already get some games in, but maybe Phoenix knew that we were going to have an injury in net, but Ricardo McClement's going to get called up a year earlier than I was expecting. Like I said, next year he will be our backup full-time probably, but kind of interesting that we suffered an injury a couple days after we got offered a trade for a goaltender. I was not expecting Vasi to go down for some reason, and they signed us a random filler goaltender in Nabokov, who was an actual draft pick apparently in this by the Atlanta Thrashers. All right, generated player though. Let's see what we got here. Coyotes we win, Ducks we win still. So we're 14-7-3 at December the 1st, which is pretty damn good. Vasi's back now, which is good. He's not fully healthy yet, but that means McClement will get sent down. Did McClement play any NHL games when he got called up? Let's see. He did. He played his first NHL game and won. Only allowed 2 goals on 25 shots. Not a bad start for Ricardo McClement. Hopefully we see more of that next year. He was actually playing really good in the AHL to start off this year too. So I'm very excited for Ricardo McClement when his time comes. But let's go to edit lines. Get Vasi back in. Hopefully he stays healthy the rest of the year though, because he's an important player for this team. And we'll put him back in there and get McClement back into the minors as well. All right, perfect. So that's all set up and ready to go for next episode. Let's take a look at some stats and see if there's any underlying issues that we should be worried about or not. So currently at the moment, we are the 9th best offensive team. So goal scoring is not much of a problem right now. We are 13th in goals against. So not the strongest defensive team, but we are far from the worst. We're 8th on the power play and 6th on the penalty kill. So right now, to me, it seems like everything's working out fine, which is good to see. So I don't know if we really need to make adjustments based on that, but if we do want to get guys in from the minors, maybe we should do that. But right now it looks like we're a strong special teams team and strong 5-on-5 as well. Let's take a look at some stats on this team. So McKinnon's leading us right now. He is well over point per game, and he's definitely our best player at the moment too. So shout out to McKinnon, 31 points, 24 games. We have Cameron on point per game as well. Good start for Cameron. Nelson's right around point per game. Really like that. That's why I brought Brock Nelson in, was to help that offense on that second line, and he's been a perfect fit with this team. So shout out to Brock Nelson. We did give him a long-term deal, but I think it was definitely worth it. It's also modified, so he can get dealt if we get into trouble. Wow, Markou's almost point per game. I was not expecting that. That might be the best, like, dollar per point type player. 18 points in 24 games for Markou. He is now a third-line scoring forward. Last year, he had 42 points all season. He's on pace to definitely crush that. And he's only making 940K now, technically. So I guess maybe there was a cap adjustment because we were below the cap, but Markou's on such a nice team-friendly deal. I absolutely love it. Jenner on 4 assists in 24 games, no goals so far, but he's doing defense, and that's pretty much what Boone is. He's not liking his ice time on the fourth line, so that's maybe an area we need to look at, is trying to find a guy that actually is okay with his ice time on that fourth line, or we just let him complain down there. It doesn't make a huge issue, I don't think, but is he a pending free agent? I don't know if he's a pending UFA. I think he's a pending RFA. Maybe trading away his rights in the offseason is something we look into. Then on the left wing side of things, we have Nyquist on 25 points in 24 games. So Gus knows it's a contract year, and he's been really good so far. So maybe he's the type of guy we would re-sign, but I feel like his asking price is just going to go up from here on out. But he is a good player. Is he worth bringing back again for next year? Or do we just wait till the end of the playoffs to see if he's actually worth that type of money too? Lottie on 17 points has been fantastic too, so it looks like we're getting a lot better depth scoring this year than we did in the past. Because Lottie only had 23 points all last year, but right now it seems like him and Markou are assimilating really well. So that power play unit, I guess, is maybe getting that offense, but tough to say. Holden only on 4 points, including 2 goals. I'm still not a huge fan of Dale Holden. He's got the offensive tool bag to be good. Like, his awareness is high. His shooting is actually much better than it was last season, I think. But he doesn't score enough. His passing is atrocious. He's only getting 7 minutes a game, though. So should we be putting him on the top, like on a different line, or on the power play line to try and get his goal scoring better? It's just really tough to get him ice time on this team because there's so many good players already. So maybe he'll succeed on a different team, but right now he's not really living up to that hype. Like, his career point totals are 8 points in 39 games. It's not terrible, but definitely there's a lot of room for improvement. There's definitely a lot of room for that. So, right wing side of things, Fada's on point per game. He's off to a great start. 17 goals for Jorge, or George Fada, whatever you want to call him. He is turning into being that goal scorer for his team, which is not what I was expecting. A couple years ago, only had 12 goals. Last year, 26. And then this year, he's got 17 goals already. So he might be one of the highest scoring players in the league at this point. And he's shooting 25.4%. So shout out to George Fada, who randomly became a good goal scorer. He only has 1 more year left on his contract after this year, so he's going to be maybe a pricey player if he continues to play like that. Tyler Toffoli's kind of regressing in the goal scoring department, but 18 points is still good. Yakupov, 7 points in 24 games, minus 10. Not the best stats from Yak, but he isn't getting any power play time. Nikushkin only on 3 assists. It seems like a lot of guys in our bottom 6 just don't do too much. Like, Markou is doing a lot, but guys like Yakupov are really kind of slumping. From a defensive standpoint, Falk's on 14 points and a plus 12. He's been by far our best defenseman. Mackey's on 8 points, so starting to find his offensive game a bit. Because last year, he only had 13 points all season. So, definitely starting to figure out his game a bit. Zherdev on 6 points, Moss on 5, Metro on 3, Halinka on 1. Good defensive stats. And then from a goaltending standpoint, Vasilevsky's on a 906. Ruskovich hasn't been good, but he's been winning games. So, that's interesting. All right. So, I would say we do give up maybe a bit too much goals in some areas, like with the plus-minuses, and we're maybe not scoring as much as we could, but I think the depth scoring is good. Like, we look at the depth scoring now, like, if we look at just our forwards, we have a bunch of people that are right near point per game, 5 people. You have some people that are not too far off point per game, and then there's a huge drop-off afterwards to Latti, Holden, Jenner, Nikushkin. Like, these guys are definitely not point producers. But if you sort by like goals scored, Fada's by far our best goal scorer on the team. You go to defense, obviously, and we have 2 defensemen on 5 goals already, which is nice, but yeah, I don't know if there's really any issues I have with this team so far. We'll probably have to just like figure out more as we simulate in next episode. But we could, like I said, call up some defensemen and make some defensive adjustments. Guys like Lalibert are apparently simulating really good offensively. He is an OFD, so I guess it makes sense. Parayko is one of these guys that could be up here right now. Trombley is getting very close to like next season-ish. And then Rodriguez has obviously missed a bit of time due to injury, but he's pretty much ready to go too. So Ma also might be like a year out too. Yeah, Ma's growing too. So we have a lot of right-handers in the system that could definitely crack our lineup next year. So anyways, let's take a look at some stats around the league for fun too while we're at it, just to kind of see who is leading in points right now. The answer to that is Alex Ovechkin. Not really a surprise, because last year he was fantastic. John Tavares is number 2. That's interesting. I feel like that's one of the first times I've seen Tavares all the way up there. Same with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Huh. But if you look in goal scoring department, Fada is not a top 10 goal scorer, but he's definitely up there as one of the better goal scorers, but there is some crazy goal scorers this year. So it's not like he's going to win a Richard this year. But he's definitely probably going to be our best goal scorer by the end of the season. Mike Green's doing well defensively. Lundqvist in Anaheim has the most wins, all right. Best rookie so far this year is Nolan in Atlanta. And then there's Sasaki as well up there for Anaheim. Cummins for Anaheim. All right. Wow, Wheel as well for Anaheim. Damn, these 3 guys all for the Ducks are up there in rookie points. So the Ducks have a lot of youth, I guess, on the roster. Same goes with Atlanta, I guess, for Adam Lowry being up there, which is interesting. Did Lowry get drafted by Atlanta in this series? No, he got drafted by St. Louis, but then Atlanta picked him up. So technically the Winnipeg Jets have Adam Lowry just on pace, which is interesting. Didn't he start on a different AHL team as well at one point? I feel like he did, but I'm not too sure. I know that he was a Swift Current Bronco because I used to have a hockey card of him, I think, from then. Let me take a look at Adam Lowry for a second. I feel like he might have been on a different AHL team before he was a part of the Jets organization. No, never mind. He was drafted by the Jets and then played for the Ice Caps in 2013. So yeah, at this point, he would have already been a Winnipeg Jet. So some good realism there. I like to see it. So there's that. I don't know if it's worth looking at the trading block already, but just for fun, we'll take a look at it anyways. Also, who's the top draft name just for fun? Because 2018 draft, I don't remember. Oh, there's a franchise player in the 2018 draft, apparently. Holden Lucic from Poland. Who was the first overall pick in the real 2018 draft? I guess it was like, was it Dahlin? I feel like it was Rasmus Dahlin, but I can't remember for some weird reason. Was it Rasmus Dahlin? I think so. Let me take a look at this for a second. Yeah, it was 2018. So this would be the Rasmus Dahlin draft. So technically this franchise 2A forward would be Dahlin based on that. But if you go off defenseman, this would probably be Dahlin, even though he's a Canadian. All right, so we're in the 2018 already, damn. But a franchise player going first overall is pretty cool. But obviously we're not going to have that early of a pick probably this season. All right, let's take a look at the trading block just briefly just to kind of see if there's anything we need to pursue. But I think right now, there's nothing I really want other than maybe getting some defensemen from our AHL up to the NHL. So I'm not too sure if there's really anything we could bring in for guys like, if we wanted to trade Parayko and a defenseman on our team so we could get Rodriguez in, who would we trade for? What would we trade for even? Picks? Because this team doesn't really need prospects right now. We don't really need roster players. We could always wait more throughout the season to see if we actually want to make more moves, but I think right now it's fine the way it is, unless we want like to trade for veteran defensemen, and that way we don't get Rodriguez in. I think our team is fine though. There is some good veteran D-men out there, but I don't think we need that veteran defenseman yet. I think I'm still trusting in the youth to continue growing for now. There's some actually pretty good players out there. Val Filppula, Jack Johnson is an 85. Damn, Matt Carl, who just recently signed in Detroit. Tim Gleason, David Schlemko. Eric Johnson's on the block. So a lot of interesting defenders, but I don't know if this is the time to trade for one. Especially when we have guys, like I said, that could come up. New Jersey's got Andy Green, Braden Coburn, Trevor Daley, Chris Versteeg, Mikhail Grabovski. So a lot of veterans. Teddy Purcell on the block. Teddy Purcell used to be one of my favorite players, if you guys didn't know, because back in NHL 12 or 13, I actually pulled off a superb man deke and scored in a shootout goal with him, because I did the jump deke, and then I dove and poked it into the net on an online shootout. And yeah, I don't really play online anymore, but still, that's what I think of every time I see Teddy Purcell. I don't think I have a clip of it anywhere, unfortunately, though, because it used to be on that old EA Sports World website that you'd upload little clips to, but I think that website doesn't even exist anymore, so kind of dating myself a little bit, but yeah, hopefully some of you actually know what I'm referring to. Damn, Danny Heatley's on the trading block with 23 team no trade, so he probably won't get dealt anywhere, but San Jose is trying to offload Danny Heatley. St. Louis has some players. Tampa, not a lot. Toronto has not a lot either. Vancouver, Kyle Wellwood, Washington, prospects. All right. Yeah, so not really seeing a thing that I need to really bring in right now, but maybe something we could look into at the deadline. What else did I want to take a look at here? I actually wanted to go to maybe a couple teams to just take a look at the roster. I'm not taking a look at through every team because we're already 50-something minutes into this recording, but what I did want to take a look at is a couple teams because I wanted to take a look at what Nashville's looking like at this point and Toronto, just because those are teams that have made some drastic changes the last few years. Nashville's looking pretty good. They're looking pretty good. I mean, that Hull, Sagan, and Barkov line is fantastic still. They did bring in Dadonov in the offseason to play with the youngster and Ramsey. I like that. Ryan Callahan's still there. Yeah, they're looking like a pretty solid team. They might be a playoff team right now. They also did sign Jeff Schultz in the offseason. They brought in Nick Cronwall. Cameron Gaunt's playing is funny, though, because he's not really an NHL defenseman. They also signed Halak. Postman is currently injured. Huh. Yeah, that's a decent Nashville team. I'm curious if they're actually in a playoff spot right now. And in Toronto, Goudreau, Kopitar, Kessel, they're still building together a decent team. Their depth is definitely better than it used to be at one point. Their defensive core is still a bunch of random names, though, to be honest. And then goaltending, Connor Hellebuyck. They do have a different backup this year, George Setzinger. Who was their backup last year? I feel like it was a good name behind Hellebuyck. Oh, it was Jay Gallen, I think, last year. And then Jay Gallen signed in Buffalo this offseason. So, yeah, I guess they decided to make a goaltending change because Setzinger's ready to go. The interesting thing is with Hellebuyck being a starter, they probably will have to move out from Setzinger at some point. Unless Hellebuyck becomes a free agent, but, Let me actually take a look at the standings around the league, too, while we're at it. Because this is something that I think is going to be interesting, just to kind of see if there's any teams that have made a huge jump up this season. So, right now the best team in the league is apparently New Jersey. Columbus is number 2, so I think they're getting much better. Tampa there, Pittsburgh there. The Islanders are starting to do a lot better since DiPietro left. Washington's up there. It's mostly Eastern Conference teams up there. Columbus is technically in the West still at this point. But a lot of Eastern Conference teams up there. And then Chicago's all the way down there. Nashville is actually doing pretty good to start the season, so they actually might be able to make it back into the playoffs. Who is the worst team in the league? That's one thing I want to know about. Montreal? Wow. They have regressed quite hard because they were really good, and I guess they lost a bunch of people, but Toronto's still not simulating good, even with that roster that we just looked at. So they have Connor Hellebuyck. They have an okay defensive core now, but it's not great. Their forward group is solid, but they're still going to likely get a really good pick this year. They could get a franchise player to add to all the players they have right now. That's crazy. Atlanta's down there. Boston's dropped off a lot too. Wasn't expecting some of these teams to be down there. I'm curious on what Montreal looks like, because what was their record? Did that say that they only had 4 wins to start the season? Let's see. Yeah, they're 4-13-6. So we got to take a look at the roster, and that'll be it for this episode after that. But Sam Gagner should be still there. But I'm not too sure on who else is still Montreal Canadian, because I saw they lost Camilleri. They've lost Giunta over the last few years too, I think. Oh yeah, Milan Lucic signed there. So it's Lucic, Gagne, and they did sign Justin Williams, who was on the Pittsburgh Penguins the last few years. And now that he's not playing with Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, you could definitely see he's not the same player. Huge drop off for him. And they did pay him a lot of money too. That's funny. Second line Kostitsin. I'm kind of surprised this team is doing that bad though. This forward group isn't terrible. Defensively, quite weak maybe actually. Hainsey, Mata, Markov has dropped off a lot. Jake Dotchin. McBain and Subban are good, but yeah, the defensive core is probably not as good as it could be. And in the goaltending, I mean, Carey Price is there, but Carey Price, who won some Vezinas actually in this universe, went from a 910 save percentage last year to an 897 this year. So, oof, the regression to Carey Price, huh? And he's making $5 million, but at least that's not too much for the Habs. But like I said, he's won 2 Vezinas in his universe, but now he's really bad. And at Curtis McElhinney there too. Damn, man. They have some really good scratches too. Why are you scratching Peter Mueller and Matthew Perreault over guys like Rob Schremp? I'm not too sure, but damn. The Montreal Canadiens probably not going to make it to the playoffs this year based on that alone. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 Franchise Mode. So in next episode, we'll continue assimilating more of the 2017-18 season, probably up to the day before the trade deadline. I'm not too sure if we want to make moves or not. Like I said, so far, 5-on-5 we've been good. Special teams we've been good. But there is those guys in the minors that are listed as medium top sixes pretty much at the moment that maybe should play in the lineup like Parayko or Rodriguez. So maybe we should think about trading a defenseman on our team to get one of those guys in since they're both right-handers. But if we don't want to do that, we could always wait till next season instead. But there's definitely some defensive adjustments we're going to have to make over the next few years because guys like Tremblay, Marr also potentially getting close to NHL ready. So this defensive core might go through some changes, but at least it seems like a lot of the guys that are currently on the team are playing quite good defensively. So let me know down below, and I'll see you guys next time.